When I turned on my mic to rant about quitting my job, I did not expect over 100,000 people to be listening. I'm not going to lie. I had like 80 subs at the time, but it turns out I struck a chord, and that I'm not alone, and that there's tens of thousands of people who feel the exact same way. And despite there being thousands of comments from people all over the world in all different situations, all different jobs, there was one thing that was obvious. And, it's that this generation, my generation, is not as accepting of this 9-to-5 system as the generations before us. I think we value not feeling like shit. And it kind of gets, labeled as lazy. The boomers really came out to play in the comments, but I don't think it's a lazy way of thinking. I think it's a self-aware way of thinking. I think most of us are aware we were given a very short life, and they'll call us lazy for not wanting to spend it stuck in a miserable job, or miserable office. And how did this happen, right? Like, how are we the first to acknowledge how crazy this is? And why did my last video speak to so many people? I want to go over the general consensus of the comments on that video. I'm going to be honest here. I tried to read them all. There was an insane amount, so bear with me if I miss yours. I'll get to it eventually. It's not like I have a job, so and I actually do enjoy reading them and like talking to you guys. So the takeaways from all over, people in all different parts of the world, all different, situations, are the same for the most part. And there's like a ton of value there. So, the first one I want to talk about is just the fact that the corporate world is an adult daycare, someone said in the comments, which is like a perfect description. It's like an adult version of high school, and you think it's going to be so much different, and then you get there and you're like, what is this, right? So I thought maybe my company was worse than others, but it sounds like at a lot of these companies, people aren't working. Like, they're literally not doing anything, and there, there's a lot of corporate lingo that gets thrown around to almost create like the impression that things are getting done. Like, let's circle back internally and let's connect on this, or let's set up some time later to talk about this, or let's email back and forth about that for days, as opposed to just figuring it out. It's fake. And I think the worst part is someone's got to do something, right? So the work ends up getting pushed on the people that are at the bottom, the people that actually are working hard, and they're not going to be given gratitude at most of these places. Like, the amount of comments that people are like, yeah, I work hard as I can and they give me more work. And like me personally, I'm not trying to give off the impression that I need flowers for doing my job. Like, I need a pat on the back. I'm very aware work is work, but like, I don't know, maybe just acknowledge the fact that your job is being done by me, and that you're getting paid way more than I am, and you can't even say thank you. It's like, it's so crazy. And it was even crazier to see that I'm not the only one. It's just happening everywhere, all over the world. The next takeaway that was very obvious, and it's like, when someone leaves one comment, that's one thing, but when you get hundreds of comments of people saying the same thing, it really sticks out, right? So those who are working non-corporate jobs seem to be much happier. And there was even people who were working corporate jobs, and then they switched to more traditional, like more manual jobs, and they were like, I am so much happier, and this makes sense to me, because when I was 18, I started working as a doorman in the city. And I was going to explain it, but you open doors, it's in the name, right? At these big apartment buildings where, there's like actual billionaires in there. So as you can imagine, that you're not always treated as a human being, and it's definitely not the most glamorous job. It was, you have to take out people's trash, there's dead mice everywhere, and cockroaches, and you're cleaning all the time. It's not glamorous by any means, but I was happier there going to work every day as a doorman, getting less money than I was at my office job, and it wasn't even like close. Like, it was like I was noticeably less miserable. And people all over the world, same thing. Like, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this and why this is, and it's because it's not fake. There was nothing fake about having to wake up some drunk guy passed out in front of the building and tell him like, yo, you got to dip, bro. Or like, your coworkers, there's nothing fake there. It's like you're actually doing something, and you're not constrained to a chair all day staring at a screen. I'm clearly not the only one who's had that experience. Like, so many comments saying the exact same thing, and I think that's interesting. And it's really unfortunate that these jobs pay way less than these corporate jobs where the majority of people aren't doing anything and aren't contributing. But I think in the future, at least, like, these are the jobs that the jobs that we're talking about here are the ones that can't be replaced by AI in 2 years, right? So someone's got to open the doors and protect people. Someone's got to take the garbage out. Someone's got to fix the broken pipes. Like, I think we're gonna see in the future a switch to where these jobs are actually gonna pay more, and they should. So I honestly, good, because like I said in my other video, a lot of these jobs are gonna get replaced by AI, because it's not like they care about you anyway, these companies. So if they can replace you and it's cheaper to replace you, your ass is getting replaced. But as of now, these jobs pay less, and you're actually doing work, but at least it seems like you're way happier. So I kind of touched on this earlier, but the next takeaway is, like, our generation values not feeling like shit. I think we have an ability to identify what feels good and what feels like shit. And in my opinion, it gets labeled as lazy, but it's being awake. One life on earth. You can call me lazy for not wanting to spend it, staring at a screen in an office chair, just wanting to. I'm not even gonna say it, but not all boomers think this way, even though most of them do. Like, there was some great comments from older people, and I'm gonna put one up on the screen here. This one was my favorite, but it's a total shift in just ways of thinking, and I think a big part of it is, like, our parents. There was no internet, there was no social media, so I feel like when you don't have to watch some TikToker make millions of dollars from little lip syncing videos, it's probably a little bit easier to clock in to the office every day and just not ask any questions, right? Because you're just like, okay, this is what's supposed to be done. This is how I'm supposed to make money. But with the internet, it's like we see how much the world has to offer, but it's a tease. It's like you can't have it, but you can watch it, So then, all of a sudden you start to ask questions. You're like, why are there so many people on the internet that have found so many ways to make money, where it's like, why am I doing this? And our parents didn't have, you couldn't make an investment in, the meme coin thing. I'm not going to even point to that, but watching a kid make $1 million, he's like literally 15. Like, it's just a different world, and to pretend like that doesn't have an impact on how we think about going to work every day is just naive, in my opinion. And the meme coin thing, I'm not like at all encouraging that, but I'm just saying, like, there's all these different ways to make money on the internet, and we see it because of social media, that I think that's playing a big part into why this is now seeming so ridiculous, and it didn't before. And kind of going off that, I think there's a general lack of trust now that our parents and the older generations didn't have, also because of social media, right? They kind of just did what they were told all the time, and they had no reason to question it. I think it was like a assumption that these big corporations and governments actually cared about you, and you can trust them and just do what they want you to do, and everything will work out. And I think we keep getting proven over and over now that this isn't the case. This system that we're supposed to just shut up and participate in isn't necessarily here to help us, and I think it's very clear now as opposed to before. And they're also not even trying to hide it. Like, JP Morgan, I just saw on the news, is building like billion delivery system so that their 10,000 employees don't have to leave their desks at all throughout the day. They can just order the food, which is insane to me. Because, when I was in the office, I didn't work at JP Morgan, but when I was in the office, the highlight of my day would be walking outside and getting lunch, which, is super depressing, unrelated, but it's like the only time I would be out during the day is walking around and eating Chipotle. It was my little slither of freedom, right? So, now they don't even want you to have that, which is just crazy to me, right? And then, I think another big reason that this shift in thinking is happening is because these jobs are not paying enough. Like, how is it that the one constant is wages, right? Everything else has gone up. Cost of living, cost of, doing anything, getting on the subway, even like the markets and things, like everything goes up, right? Except for how much you're getting paid. Like, why am I getting paid the same salary that somebody 15 years ago was getting paid when, everything is more expensive? And I think if we were getting paid more, our tolerance for bullshit would obviously be higher, right? So I think that's playing a big role here as well. And a lot of people asked me, do I, regret quitting? And they want to see an update. And I think, it's too early to tell. I mean, I could so easily end up back in an office job that I hate, right? Because, at some point, that's just going to have to be an A or a B, right? But I will say, like, my life, I'm just so much more appreciative of life again, and I've really just been enjoying myself. Like, I understand I'm very blessed, but like I was just in Italy for a week, and it was like the best week of my life, right? And I'm monetized on YouTube now, which is crazy. So that's also just like not something I would have ever imagined. So those are two things alone that have happened since I quit that, at least for now, I can say I do not regret my decision at all. Like, not even close. And, this video could age terribly, right? And I'm aware of that. I'm a very realistic person, right? So I'm not, gonna just crumble if that happens, or if, everything goes to zero. Like, you know what I mean? I'm aware. So as of right now, I do not regret quitting, though I will say that. And I'll make another follow-up video because, who knows what could happen in a month. And it would be crazy if I went back to an office job and just, kept talking about how bad they are. So if that happens, I'll make a video. And who knows what I'm going to do. But all I can say for now is I definitely don't regret quitting as of February 10th. So yeah, that's it for me. Appreciate you guys. I know we're at 4,000 subscribers now, which is insane. And just the support from all those comments and everything was just crazy. So appreciate every single one of you guys. And I'll talk to you later. Peace.